Hello Raptors fans, and welcome back to Raptors Report. I'm your host Julian, and today we're going to be talking about the game the Raptors played against the Brooklyn Nets last night. But before we do that, I want to talk about the Toronto Raptors half-court offense and why I have been impressed with what they've been doing there this season and why I think it's a huge area of growth for them. Last season, they were one of the worst teams in half-court efficiency, relying a lot on transition, which they're still doing this year, but this year, there is a huge uptick in how they have been doing in the half court, and I want to talk about why that is. And the first thing that you got to mention, because there was a big addition to the team last season, and he has been instrumental in being one of the best half court players for the Toronto Raptors. So we got to start by talking about Brandon Ingram. And Brandon Ingram is a very versatile offensive player. And he does have one area that he likes to operate in, which is the mid-range. He is sort of a mid-range maestro. But in the mid-range, sort of in that area, he is a really effective scorer. So let's talk about what he does and how the Raptors utilize him. So first of all, what the Toronto Raptors like to do in the half court is set off-ball screens in order to get Brandon Ingram the ball. So obviously getting a player the ball in the mid-range or in the post for that matter is kind of difficult. You have to have some setup in order to get them the ball there. Teams can sort of overload the passing lanes, they can front, they can do a lot of different things in order to deny the ball in the mid-range. And so the Raptors like to use clever off-ball screens and the threat of other plays in order to free him up and get him the ball there. And once he gets the ball there, he has a sort of patented blend of face-up and post-up moves that he can execute. They kind of flow from one to the other, and he generally uses that in order to shoot a, step-back mid-range jump shot or get to the rim. When he's not on ball, he will be playing off of the ball as a floor spacer. And when he gets the ball on the perimeter, he's a threat to shoot. But another thing that he can do is use a closeout attack. So if they come out a little too strongly, or even if, they just close out to him regularly, he doesn't feel like shooting the jump shot, he can drive and get into the mid-range where basically he just flows into that mid-range scoring game. So Brandon Ingram, one of his, characteristics that makes him such a potent player when he has the ball in his hands in that area is that he can score through good contests. So even if a player is playing him tightly and, has him tracked and is on his hip and there doesn't really have to be a huge advantage created in order for him to get a good look at the basket. And that's pretty much the reason for that is because he has, really long arms and he's very good at creating separation. He's very good at getting players to leave their feet, and he can either use that to attack the basket or draw a foul. He's just very crafty in the mid-range, and he has a bunch of tools at his disposal that he uses very well in order to create scoring opportunities. Now, one of the bedrocks of any half-court offense is shot creation. Shot creation is essentially creating good looks through your offense. Basically, if you watch the Toronto Raptors the past couple of seasons, they had a really big problem generating good looks in the half court. And the reason for that is because they just didn't have an advantage creator who could just go out there and manufacture a good look. I love Scotty Barnes. Emmanuel Quickley has really come around. RJ has also really come around. But none of those guys is a guy that you can just throw the ball to and be like, go get me a basket. And I think that generally in the NBA, you really need a guy like that in order to have a functioning, a strong half-court offense. And Brandon Ingram provides that. He also has really strong gravity as a scorer, so teams are very reticent to kind of help off of him because, as I mentioned, if he can catch the ball in the mid-range, he, is very good at creating buckets for himself and his teammates. And if you leave him too open, he can shoot the ball and he can do, as I said, if they close out too hard, he can just drive in and score or get to the mid-range, that kind of thing. So teams don't really like to cheat off of him very much, and that creates space for the other players on the team. The next kind of play that they use so much, especially since Jakob Poeltl has been back and is looking right, are just screen plays that involve Jakob Poeltl. So yeah, Jakob Poeltl is a very important player on the Toronto Raptors. His screens, whether they be in the pick and roll or screens off of the ball, are just so integral to running Darko's system. Last night was a really good example of his ability to screen. The Nets really struggled to guard the high pick and roll between him and Immanuel Quickley. That is just a play that you can go to and multiple times a game because it is so effective. And the other thing is that all 4 of the other starters on the Toronto Raptors can and do use Jakob Poeltl in varying degrees as a pick and roll partner. Another thing that the Raptors like to do is that they like to use the pick and roll with Yak to set up their other plays. So they can either flow into the pick and roll and then use the pick and roll to get a pass to Ingram or Scotty Barnes in the post. They can use the threat of the pick and roll, like other teams might load up prematurely on the pick and roll, and that could give an opportunity for another player with the ball. It's just, something that the Raptors are constantly looking for in the half court. Now, when Jakob Poeltl is involved in the pick and roll, the Raptors like to feed him. So one of the reasons is because he has really good hands. He does not drop the ball often when they get him the ball when he's rolling to the rim. That is extremely important for a roll man, because if you drop the ball too much, there's really no point in running the play. So he's good at catching the ball, and then he's kind of a versatile finisher. He has a flip shot, he has a push shot, he has like a little kind of mini dribble drive. If the players come up to cut off his push shot, he can dribble past them and score at the rim. And he's he's a decent short roll passer as well. So if you get him the ball and he draws multiple defenders, he can kick it to a player in the corner, or he can find, somebody in the dunker spot, that kind of thing. He is a good short roll passer. Another set play that they like to utilize is a dribble handoff with RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is a good slasher. He's a physical player, and he's pretty good when he gets a running start to the rim. So either a dribble handoff, or another thing that I've noticed that they like to do is that they like to pass him the ball as he is engaging with the Poeltl screen. So they'll have, either Scotty Barnes or maybe another player, Ingram, or some other player on the perimeter with the ball in their hands. They'll have RJ come up and catch the ball in a position to use the Poeltl screen. Because one of the issues with RJ is that he's not like an elite ball handler on the perimeter. He doesn't have incredible ball skills, but once you get him like on that screen with a drive to the rim, like a slash to the basket, he's great. Like, he is a really good passer out of that play, and he can finish inside as well. So they like to use him with the Jakob Poeltl screen, either through that dribble handoff so that he can catch in motion, or as I said, they like to get him the ball like right before he uses the Poeltl screen to get inside. They'll also use Poeltl in multiple screening actions. So he will screen sometimes like right before they execute the high pick and roll. Sometimes they'll have him screen like a down screen in order to get Ingram the ball. And they'll just run multiple actions with Poeltl as the screener before they even get to their main play. His screens are just very effective at creating space. And Darko's system in the half court is all about just creating space through movement, and one of the biggest factors there are the screens, the off-ball screens that Jakob Poeltl sets. One thing that you'll notice, and Immanuel Quickley had a really rough start to the season, and one of my operating theories, I think it's been kind of just generally the consensus view, is that he looked really bad. And one of the main reasons for that is because Jakob Poeltl was injured to start the season. He was playing in the first couple of games, but he didn't look right. And then he sat for a while, and then now he's back. And the quality of play between Immanuel Quickley in those first couple of games with the injured Jakob Poeltl, and now when Jakob Poeltl is looking healthier, it's like night and day. He's like a completely different player. One of the reasons is just because that is his main play in the half court, is the ability to run the pick and roll. One of his best skills is using a screen and then coming off of the screen and shooting the ball. And a lot of people have noted that his shot isn't the quickest, despite his name, and that he requires more space in order to get the shot off. And Jakob Poeltl is, he sets some of the best screens in the NBA. He's very big and wide. It's hard to get around him. So he uses those screens really well to set up that shot. And if teams like overplay for the shot, like if they come over the screen, like avoid the screen on Yak, take like a bigger, like more circuitous route to try and bother the shot, he can drive into the paint. He can get into the paint and then either set up Poeltl, as I mentioned, as the roller, or, make a play for others, or even score himself if he gets, a good enough start to the basket. A running finish is not very uncommon with Immanuel Quickley in the pick and roll. And yeah, as I said, this is his bread and butter play. This is the play that he likes to use in the half court. And this is just like what a lot of his skill set is based around. So when Jakob Poeltl isn't in the game, like, it kind of speaks to the fact that maybe they need another player off of the bench who can provide what Jakob Poeltl does, maybe not as good, but like sort of a decent facsimile, so that if Jakob Poeltl isn't in the game, you know, they aren't as hamstrung. So, you know, but he did have a good game against the 76ers as well, so you got to give him credit there. One of the other plays that they like to run, and this isn't necessarily just like a set play, but they like to do it, which is Scottie Barnes and RJ at the top of the arc as a connector. Scottie Barnes and RJ Barrett will often like set up shop at the top of the arc on the wing, ready to catch the ball. They'll do one of two things. So obviously they're providing space out there. Both Scottie Barnes and RJ have done a decent job shooting the ball this season, although RJ didn't help himself last night, but they will space there too. But another thing that they'll do is that a lot of the time they will pass the ball to Scottie Barnes or RJ out there, and then they'll use their good passing skills to pay off the Toronto Raptors off-ball movement. So as you'll note, the Raptors really like to use screens and move off of the ball. And RJ and especially Scottie are really good at finding players who are open. So a lot of the time he will find a player on the perimeter ready to shoot, or maybe he'll find a cutter going to the basket. A lot of that is done at on the wing or at the top of the arc, where they can use their passing ability to, you know, find an open teammate. And it really works well just because they can space the floor, they can shoot the ball, they can drive if a player closes out too strong. But a lot of it is just about that sort of connection ability just through their passing. And also, just, you can't forget this, is that if they catch the ball at the top of the arc, they can also bring Poeltl out to screen as well. They do that a decent amount of the time, use Scottie or RJ as the pick and roll ball handler. So yeah, those connection plays are another element to the Raptors half-court offense. In any case, those are some of the things that I've been seeing for the Toronto Raptors in the half court, and I think they look a lot better in the half court this season. They are still a transition-heavy team. They are top 4 in frequency of using that play in their repertoire, so they use it about 23% of the time. So I don't mind them being a transition team too, but I wanted to emphasize sort of the growth that I've seen from them in the half court this year. So why don't we get into the player evaluations, and we can take a look at what I managed to see from them last night. So the player of the game is actually kind of tough. It's either between Brandon Ingram or Immanuel Quickley. I'll give it to Brandon Ingram because he kind of carried the Toronto Raptors water in the first half. When the rest of the team came out very sluggishly, he had 13 points in the first half to lead all scorers. He was very efficient. He went to the line a whole bunch of times. He ended up with 25 points on the game on 8 of 17 shooting. He was only 1 of 6 from 3, so not great efficiency from beyond the arc. He was 8 of 9 from the free throw stripe and had 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. And I think his defense was good as well. I've mentioned like a bunch of times that Brandon Ingram is not an amazing perimeter defender. He has a slower foot speed and he can't really stick with some of the faster players, but what he can do is help out inside. And he had a number of possessions where there was one particular possession where he was the primary help defender. Like they kind of like had Yak switched out onto the perimeter, and Brandon Ingram was on the inside guarding the basket, and he did a really good job. He got nice and long and put his arm up to contest a Claxton shot, which missed. And then Terrence Mann, like they got the rebound and ran like a sort of low pick and roll, and Brandon Ingram sort of switched off of Claxton and put up his hand and challenged the man shot, which missed as well. So I like what he can do on the inside, and I think that may be one of the reasons that the Raptors like to switch so often, is because I think that they can generate some, good rim protection, even when Jakob Poeltl isn't in the paint, like between Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram. They've got some length down there. They can show length when players get inside. So I think he did a pretty good job there. And then obviously on offense, he was very good and one of the top scorer for the Toronto Raptors last night. And the other stats were great too. No turnovers, 5 rebounds, that's good, 4 assists. I think he had a really solid game and outside of the scoring. And then when you factor in the scoring, he was the best player for the Raptors, in my opinion. Next up, let's go to Immanuel Quickley. I think Immanuel Quickley had another really good night, especially in the second half. So in the first half, he wasn't very effective. He only had 6 points in the first half on 2 of 6 shooting. He was taking some questionable shots. And then in the first quarter, he wasn't keeping players in front of him. Players were just kind of getting past him, going to the rim. He and Jakob Poeltl weren't putting up a lot of resistance on defense in the first quarter. In the second quarter, it looked a little better, and then in the second half, he really kind of took over with his scoring. He had 24 points on 10 of 17 shooting. He's 3 of 8 from 3, which is good. 1 of 2 from the free throw line. He had, this is impressive, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, only 1 turnover. And I think his defense in the second half was way better, way better. He looked under control. He's doing the stuff like the little things that help teams win, boxing out, crashing the boards, staying attached to his man. I thought it was just a really strong performance. Like, if it was only the second half, if you were only counting the second half, he would be the player of the game. No question about it. In the second half, he had 18 points and 8 of 11 shooting. He was phenomenal, just like a really good scorer. And between him and Jakob Poeltl, they won the game in the second half. The high screen and roll that they were utilizing between Jakob Poeltl and Immanuel Quickley just kind of shredded the defense of the Nets. They really didn't have much of an answer for that. He was passing very well. He was shooting and scoring very well. He was getting in 2 feet into the paint and distributing, doing everything. Just a really solid job. And like, this really just shows, like I was saying, I mean, on the podcast and here on the show, that Immanuel Quickley needs a good screener. Like, he needs a player like Jakob Poeltl in order to get his game off. And it was very evident in this game, like, why? Like, he is a good screen and roll operator. He can use screens very well, and he's a threat to shoot, he's a threat to drive, he's a threat to pass. And once he gets that little bit of daylight going to the rim, he can make plays too. They're not the highest level reads, they're not like, you know, Steve Nash passing, as I've mentioned before, but they're good, solid reads that get his teammates open shots. So good job from him. Next up, it's a toss-up here again between Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes. You know, I'll give it to Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty Barnes had, you know, a more well-rounded game. I think that he was a good defender through all 4 quarters. He's a very versatile defender. He was guarding Yegor Demin on one play, and then, like, if there was a switch or whatnot, he was matched up against Claxton. He was guarding Claxton. Like, he can do a whole ton of stuff. And he kind of makes the Raptors click. He's kind of just like the glue that kind of holds the Raptors together, like those sinews that make your muscles work. Maybe he's not the best scorer on the team. Maybe he's not the best rebounder on the team. He might be the best defender on the team. Him and Yak are probably the 2 best defenders on the team. But if you take into account like the versatility that Scotty Barnes adds, like, he probably is the best defender on the team. Just like he does so much for the Toronto Raptors. So 15 points on 6 of 9 shooting. So in the first quarter, I think he missed his first 3 shots of the game, which included a 3. And then he just kind of filled in and did what was necessary to, you know, finish out the game in terms of scoring. Just being a, you know, high-level role player, finishing plays around the rim, playing in transition, grabbing rebounds. He had 11 rebounds in this game. He had 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and 2 turnovers. Just a really well-rounded game, showing that even when he's not like a scorer, like if he's not scoring the ball particularly well one night, if he doesn't have that like really good matchup that he can exploit, he's just doing so much in every other category that he is like, you know, one of the better players on the team. I think he did really well last night, even if he only scored 15 points. Next up, we'll go to Jakob Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl really struggled in the first half, especially in the first quarter, and he struggled to stay in front of Nick Claxton. The Nets, I think, were really trying to set up Nick Claxton to match up against Jakob Poeltl because Nick Claxton has good foot speed for a center. He is very quick and lithe, like he's very slim and trim. Like, he is a faster player than Jakob Poeltl. So what they were trying to do is feed him the ball sort of in that mid-post area and let him use his foot speed to get Jakob Poeltl on the back foot and then try and score around him. And Jakob Poeltl, especially in the first quarter, made a number of uncharacteristic mistakes where he did not read the play correctly, like with a back cut or with being out of position on the pick and roll, not dropping, not doing the right things, not being in the right spots. But then, okay, so just like Immanuel Quickley, but like a little lesser so, In the second half, he was great. He was very good, on both ends. So his screens, I've mentioned many times, I mean, in the first part of this video, his screens are invaluable to the Toronto Raptors offense. He was doing a very good job of freeing up his teammates with his screens. And then he did like most of his damage in terms of scoring in the second half. And then on defense, he was a lot better. So he had like a really nasty block on Yegor Diomin. Going to the rim, he just kind of tracked it down and slapped it off the backboards. He was playing good positional defense. And then the rebounding is really kind of, what he brings to the table. 4 offensive rebounds, 6 defensive rebounds for 10 rebounds on the game. So he got his double-double. He only missed 1 shot on the game, so he had 12 points on 5 of 6 shooting. He did miss 2 free throws, so he's 2 of 4 from the line, with 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 0 turnovers. So apart from the first quarter where he did not play good defense and just kind of looked out of sorts for whatever reason, I don't think it's a mobility thing. I think it was just he made too many mistakes. His mobility is looking a lot better. I joked on social media that, his first quarters have been really bad, and then the perk kicks in, like the Percocet that he uses to quell the pain in his back, and then he looks amazing. And that I'm just joking, probably. But, it has been a pattern. He starts slow and then looks really good. So in the second half, he was one of the best players on the floor for the Raptors. Last and least, kind of a nightmare game for RJ Barrett, at least on the offensive side of the ball. He had 13 points on 21 shots. So, man, he emptied the clip. He was 0 of 7 from 3. That's not going to be good for his 3-point averages, which have been pretty solid to date. Probably going to drag that down considerably. 1 of 1 from the line, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 turnover. But he did play some, in spots, he was very good defensively. Drew a charge. He got back in transition on Terrence Mann, kind of outraced Terrence Mann to the basket, and then jumped and delivered a very nice contest that stopped the transition bucket. He used verticality, put his hands straight up, and just challenged the shot. A really good hustle. It's kind of fun to watch him chug with that really kind of thick frame he has. If he can get into that spot, he's tough to score around. And, he made some winning plays on that end, so you got to give him credit there. But on offense, it was a nightmare night. I mean, the stats tell the story. 6 of 21 from the field. So he didn't have the shot going. And then he missed some bunnies around the rim. I don't think he's going to do that often this season. He's been a pretty consistent scorer when he gets inside. So I think this was just an off night from him. Off of the bench, I'm going to give this one to Jamal Shed. Jamal Shed had another impressive outing on both ends of the floor. 6 points on 2 of 4 shooting. He was 1 of 2 from 3. 1 of 2 from the line, 1 rebound, 5 assists, and 2 turnovers. And he had a really nice play where he used a crossover to get into the paint and then threw sort of like an over-the-shoulder, kick out pass, right on the hands of CMB, who made the 3-point shot. He is a good playmaker, just a true blue, really good playmaker. He had another really good assist where it was kind of a give and go between him and Jamison Battle. Jamison Battle cut across the top of the key, and Jamal Shed got it back to him, and he just splashed the 3. He always has his head up. He's always making plays. He's always thinking sort of a couple of steps ahead on what he can do. And he's really good, going to the rim. His shot is coming around. I'm just really happy with what I'm seeing from him. And he is consistently one of the best players off of the bench. And he gives the Toronto Raptors another guard who can actually play. And that's been a problem for them in the past. The guard depth has been one of the biggest issues for the Raptors over the past 5 years. Looks like they finally found another guy who can help them there. So really happy to see that. Obviously, Sandro was injured this game. He has neck stiffness. He was kneed in the back of the head. So those two being, the 1-2 punch off the bench, there was only really the one there. But there were a couple of other performers who played well. I'll give this to the second star here to Colin Murray-Boyles. Colin Murray-Boyles had another good scoring night, 9 points on 100% shooting. He was 2 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, with 4 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, 1 assist, and no other stats. But he did foul 5 times. That was kind of the issue, is that his defense was kind of a little iffy. He made a couple of, rookie mistakes on that end, where he kind of switched without needing to. He was a little too handsy on some of the drives. I know he has really good hands and he can, knock the ball loose, but he has to know when to pick his spots, when to use his hands, especially on drives. refs are really keyed in when a player puts the ball on the floor. And if you put your hands on a player when they're driving, it's just an automatic foul. So he's got to be careful with that. But other than those plays, I think he had a really solid game. And yeah, he's the second best player off the bench. Then we'll give it to Grady Dick. The Nets don't really have guys who can like really punish Grady off of the bench. And by punish, I mean like his defense. So the Toronto Raptors switch like a ton of stuff involving Grady when he's on the perimeter. They really just don't like they'll send a help defender over and it turns into kind of a late switch where they'll just bring over the second help defender to like immediately help him on drives, and he'll rotate out to whoever the other player helped off of. And they'll also try and hide him on players who aren't as good driving the ball. There are ways that they found to sort of like lessen the defensive impact that he has. But like, I think it was a pretty good defensive night. He had a couple of like loose ball plays where he was able to get to the ball first and then make a play for his teammates. So there were a couple of good plays either on defense or sort of in loose ball situations. But the real issue this game was he was 0 of 4 from 3. And these were like good looks. Like these were kind of the easy looks that I expect him to make. A lot of them were corner shots. A lot of them were open, like with a contest, but like a later contest. He got daylight and saw the basket. Like I expect him to make those shots and he didn't. He had a couple of plays where he was nice going to the basket. So he's 3 of 7 from the field for 6 points, 0 of 4 from 3, as I mentioned, with 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 turnover. So I thought he had an okay floor game, but the shooting, he needs to be a better shooter. I mean, that is his skill set. So I don't know. Jacoby Walter had an okay game. He was 2 of 6 from the field. Both of his makes were threes. He was 2 of 5 from 3. With 1 rebound, 1 turnover for 6 points. And his defense was okay, but like need to see a little bit more from him. I think that right now his best skill is being a spacer, like an off-ball player that can shoot the ball. I think that's kind of his skill set at the moment on offense. But I need to see more from him on defense. I need him to be more disruptive. I want to see those steals. Like I think that was one of the things that excited me last season is his sort of on-ball disruptiveness. Like, can he get the ball and create turnovers? Like I want to see more of that. Next up, well, there's one more guy that we'll mention. Jamison Battle played 13 minutes in this game, which is more than he's been playing. I want to see them get this guy more looks from 3. He was 1 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. He had 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and no other stats. But he can do a little bit of extra stuff. Like he's not completely one-dimensional. He is a bigger player. He had a nice drive where he was able to hook up Scotty Barnes. I thought he had a solid game, and I'd like to see more of him, especially if other guys aren't making threes. I think he can just consistently make threes. Like, there's almost no doubt about it. Like, this guy is a real shooter. And if, you know, you're against a team like the Nets that doesn't have like a ton of guys who can punish his defense, I'd like to see him play extended minutes, and I'd like to see them set him up a little bit more, look for him a little bit more off of the bench. So, yeah, anyway. Those are, you know, the player evaluations. Let's get into the final thoughts here. I think this is a game that the Raptors really needed to win. The Nets were 1-9 coming into this game, but you know, they've got some players. Like it's not like no game is going to be a walkover. And I think a lot of people were saying it's like, oh, this is a gimme. Oh, it's embarrassing that the Raptors are letting the Nets be this close. No, I don't think so. I would be happy as long as the Raptors, you know, won the game. It's in their building. They've got some decent players. It's the NBA. Anything can happen. I think the Raptors were favored in this game, and then they won, you know, by 10 points. And that is completely acceptable. They chipped in, like they got a bunch of good performances from their top players, and they won the game. And the next game that they play is against the Cleveland Cavaliers in their building. That's going to be a tough one. I don't think that they're going to win that. They barely squeaked it out against the Cavs when the Cavs were like really shorthanded. And even though Darius Garland, he looks like he's been suffering some like on again, off again injuries. It looks like he's going to be injured again for the game that they play against the Cavs. But they still have, you know, a lot of really good players. And I think they needed to get this win against the Nets just to keep them, you know, at or around 500. They can't be dropping games like sort of gimme games, even though I just said it wasn't a gimme game. They can't be dropping easier games because they will have hard games on the schedule. And the next game against the Cavs figures to be that. But then they play another game against the Pacers after that. And the Pacers have really struggled. Andrew Nembhard is back, so it's not going to be quite as easy a game as it might have been in his absence. He's struggling to shoot the ball coming back from injury, but we've all watched him. He's a really good player. They've got Pascal Siakam. He's obviously a really good player, but they're missing Benedict Mathurin. They're missing Obi Toppin. They're missing a lot of players. So the Toronto Raptors I expect them to win that game, but anything can happen, as I mentioned. In any case, that is the episode. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps the channel grow. And also hit the bell icon so you know when new episodes go live. Also, join the Discord. That is where we are having a lot of conversations about the Toronto Raptors. Also, follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. We're on pretty much all of them, so you can get your Raptors fix there as well. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.